is, by the way. It's just a getting to know you, getting to know you. You know what's funny? When I was younger, I used to be a night owl. Oh, it was the joy of my life to stay up with my friends until like midnight, 2 a.m. By about 7:30 now, I am looking outside like, is it ready yet to go to sleep? I'm ready right now. All right, let's see, what's our next one? Oh, are you a weightlifting person or are you into cardio? None of the above, someone said. Weightlifting, yes. As you can tell by my physique, I spend lots of hours in the gym, yes. All right, so we have some cardio people. Any marathoners in here? No, any marathon? Any half? Half, okay. All right, let's see, next one. Are you a person who actually likes to read books, or do you do the audio books? Are you a reader, or you like the audio books? Oh, I see, reading. Audio, yes. I actually like to read actual books now, but I've gotten out of the habit because 16 years ago, I had this little complication, a baby. And that prevented me from reading books all the way through because I have a problem. Like, I want to be able to read the book like all the way through, right? And I can't because, then daddy, are crying, it was great to get to know you guys, but we're about to start our next session. I should also tell you, by the way, for those of you that are in the lobby, you can probably hear my voice. We're going to be starting within the next couple of minutes here. That we're going to try to start each session on time because we want to make sure that the speakers have all the time that was promised to them. So at this time, I would like to introduce to you Dr. K. Come on up, Dr. K. And we're going to ask her just a couple of questions before she gets started. Yes, thank you. Let's give her a round of applause. All right, so I know this answer already, but Dr. K, let's test your mic, make sure it's on. Where are you from? As far as where do you live now?
California.
California, and we're getting some California weather today, so she feels right at home. All right, where are you originally from?
From Kenya.
Originally from Kenya, okay. One of my best friends is from Kenya.
Awesome.
I don't know which part, though, I'm not sure. All right, last question. Dr. K, what type of doctor are you?
Family medicine and lifestyle medicine.
All right, so we are very excited to hear what you have to tell us today, and you can feel free to stay here, go up. I'm not sure what you want to do, but the floor is yours.
Awesome. Good morning. Well, the stage has been set already in regards to what we are talking about, lifestyle, and especially food. Dr. Han just talked about how powerful food is. We are what we eat, right? There's been numerous studies that have been done. We just have not paid enough attention, and we have to pay attention, because when you look at the population, and we're talking about half of us having, becoming diabetic in the next few years, like, that's not what we want. One of the youngest patients I have at my clinic with diabetes is 14 years old, and I know there have been even younger patients. Type 2, we're talking about type 2. This is not type 1 diabetes where you can get it 4 or 5 years, 2 years old. No, this is type 2 diabetes, which is a lifestyle-driven disease. So I want to talk about the basis for a nutritional guideline. Is there an ideal diet, right? See, I forgot my clicker. Where's my clicker? Okay. The left, yes. So, what's nutrition? Let's just talk about the basics. The process of providing or obtaining the food necessary for health and growth, right? You need food to stay healthy. You need food to grow. It's not just, some people are just eating for fun. You're not even hungry, and you're just eating. You don't wait for your body to tell you when you need to eat. So, talking about food, we're talking calories and nutrients. And that's why food becomes very important. What are you getting from that food that you're eating, right? So when you talk about top causes of death, actually now food might be number one. Dr. Han, food might be at the top now. Cigarettes, there have been a lot of campaigns, a lot of information in regards to cigarettes, but food is at the top. I just put the top two, but again, medical errors and all these things. So food is really powerful. It's very important. Of course, we know like heart disease is the number one cause of death, but what is really causing the heart disease, right? That's what we're talking about, the food. Talk about the SAD diet, right? Standard American diet. The easy food might be making you happy for the moment, but it's making your body sad. You're gonna get sick, and you're gonna face a lot of health problems from this. So we need to be really careful about that. So is there an ideal diet? When you go back in the Bible, right, you read the first 2 chapters in the Bible, Genesis 1:29, it says that, behold, I've given you what? Plant yielding, I can't read from here, but we're basically talking about fruits, vegetables, beans, grains. This is what we were given as food. And when did this change, right? You see, after the flood, we see people starting to eat, animal food because they didn't have vegetation. Then we talk about Leviticus chapter 11, where, in fact, what it says is, you may eat these, right? You may eat. It was not part of the original plan, but you may eat these, and it talks about clean animals, right? Pork was not one of them, right? So those you may eat, but it was not part of the original plan. So the original plan was to eat these plant foods, right? And what does science say? Of course, there's been a lot of, a lot of talk, a lot of studies about food, and a lot of investigations has been done, and articles have been written about these diets that focus on whole grains, fruits, vegetables, nuts and seeds, and legumes, improve health and control weight. This is now, it's all over the place. So that's what we are paying attention. We just haven't done it enough, but the information is out there. So analyzing women from this NAS study, right, shows the same thing, that when you eat these foods, foods from these 4 food groups, 5 rather, that it's going to improve your health, reduce early death, right? And then, so the NAS study, and then there was a follow-up study, right? The professional study showed the same thing as well. So there's been a lot of studies that show that really eating from these food groups, this one's here, whole grains, legumes, nuts and seeds, vegetables, and fruit, this is what helps people stay healthy. And when you talk about the blue zones, and you look at their lifestyle, what they're eating, right? They were not necessarily like 100% vegan, but even when they ate, animal food, it was just like a condiment. It was once in a while, but their food was mainly coming from, these food groups. So, and they avoided processed food. We've talked about this again from yesterday and today as well, that highly processed foods with sugars and butter and oils and additives and colors and all this is not food. The body does not recognize this stuff as food, right? It stimulates all kinds of reactions in the body that you don't want. So they avoided processed, ultra-processed foods. And a study came out recently that showed that our youth are getting 67% of their calories from ultra-processed foods. Can you imagine? You are what you eat, and you're getting about 70% of your calories from what is not even food, what does not even look like food. It doesn't even have the nutrients. So our youth are walking around eating a lot of calories, but without the nutrients that will keep them healthy, right? The body is degenerating, and before you know it, they're getting all these degenerative diseases, like diabetes, obesity, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, all these kind of diseases, autoimmune diseases, thyroid disease. Diabetes type 1 has been linked to, like dairy products. So all these diseases that end up getting from this kind of diet. So I've had a lot of people talk about clean eating, right? Clean eating meaning avoid processed foods, and then you can eat animal food, but in their natural form as much as possible, right? Non-caged chicken or wild salmon and all these things. Is that enough, right? If you do that, definitely there's a big difference once you get off of all the processed foods, that you're going to get a lot of benefit, right? Getting out of those sugars, all those processed, fats and oils and all these chemicals. You can get a big change in your health, but is that enough, right? Is there a reason why we're talking about plant-based diet, right? One of the Adventist study 1 and 2, which studied us, right? It's an ongoing study that has been going on for decades now, show that those who are vegan had the lowest BMI. They also had the lowest incidence of type 2 diabetes, right? So there's a reason why you would think that you need to become plant-based, not just eating clean, right? So there are long-term studies, if you haven't seen them. The China study done by Dr. T. Colin Campbell, and they did, it's probably been like 40 years or so, in China, right? They looked at their eating pattern and the diseases they were getting, and they found that those, people that were eating mainly plant-based, right, had the least instance of these diseases: diabetes, cancer, all chronic diseases that we think about, right? Alzheimer's, all these diseases, they were the lowest in those populations that were plant-based, right? There's another study, a European study, EPIC studies, a cancer study, looking at the link between food and cancer. And they found out that the more fruits and vegetables you eat, the less cancer you have, right? And then, of course, the Adventist study. These are ongoing studies, the EPIC and the Adventist, but the China study has been done already. So what is the problem with animal food? I just said it. It's not for humans. It's not food for humans, and we have to agree that this is not the original diet. This is not what God intended for us to eat, and we have to be really careful, because the animal food is protein. Just think of it, right? Except for milk, there's really no sugar, there's no carbohydrate in animal food. It's fat and protein, and of course, there are minerals, there's some vitamins, but it's lacking a lot of essential nutrients, and I'll talk about that shortly. So this is not ideal food for us. And if we were eating it once in a while, like, some people argue with me when they say, oh, back home, people used to eat this kind of foods, and they say these things. They will drink milk, and they will eat meat, and all this. And I'm like, they didn't do it the way we do it. First of all, the way that we are breeding these animals, right? Caged, and feeding them their, unnatural foods and giving them antibiotics. Like, this is not how you do it. And then you're eating, talking about the size, the serving size, the palm of your hand. Like, who eats that kind of portion? People are not eating like that. So it's not your food, and then now you're consuming it excessively, right? You get saturated fats, you get high cholesterol, you get, high protein. Do you know what's so there are 3 macronutrients, right, in the body. There's carbohydrates, there's protein, and then there's fat. Do you know what you need the most? What do you need the most? Carbohydrates. Every cell in your body runs on carbohydrates. So when people argue and talk about these low carbohydrate diets, really you are eliminating plant foods from your foods, right? That's what you're doing. But every cell in your body runs on carbohydrates. And if you look at the plant foods, 70% is carbohydrates, really, for most of them, except, like avocados and nuts, which have more fat. But most of them, 70% is carbohydrates, because that's what you need most. We're talking about fuel. Dr. Han just talked about fuel. What fuel are you going to put in your body? The body prefers to use carbohydrates as energy, right? It doesn't want to use protein and fat as energy and metabolize and put out all these compounds that are detrimental to our health. So carbohydrates is the preferred source of energy, is the most efficient energy that you want. But of course you want to put the right carbohydrates, not the refined sugars and all these high fructose corn syrup. You want to put beans and lentils and whole grains and vegetables and fruit. That is the kind of fuel you want to put in. So animal foods, not ideal. Even our physiology itself is not really meant to consume this kind of food. So I was saying, if you were consuming it a little bit here and there, maybe then it's okay. But you're still creating those harmful compounds. You're still creating TMAO. We just had that from the last talk. You're creating all these compounds. So do you want to do that? Do you still want to create a little bit of poison in your body, right? So you have all these stuff. You have heme iron, which also linked with inflammation. I remember growing up and being told that you need to eat you need to eat red meat for iron, right? But this is inflammatory. It's not healthy for us. You can get your iron from green leafy vegetables. You can get it from your grains, You just need to eat a variety of plant foods and you would just be fine. you won't have, all these issues. So you have to be careful. Look at the TMA. We also talked about, with the cardiovascular risk, injuring your blood vessels, right? You don't want to injure your body like that. So again, is being vegan extreme? Well, like Dr. Han said, is getting your heart cracked open extreme. What do you want, right? And it's abundance of food, because this is not a diet. This is not, and we're going to talk about portioning and how much do you need to eat. This is not restrictive, right? You're listening to your satiety and hunger cues, and you're eating enough to get the nutrients and calories that you need without overdoing it, right? Because this is what happens when you eat processed food, because of it's engineered food to make you go back for more, right? So it's really stimulating your dopamine reward, system, and you keep going for more even when you don't need to, right? And being highly processed doesn't have the fiber and the water and the minerals and the stuff you need for your body. Your body's still asking for food, for nutrients, so you keep eating, you overeat. But that doesn't happen when you're eating natural foods, natural plant food, right? You have all that fiber. You stretch your stomach, and your stomach, those signals go to your brain that says, you've had enough. You need to stop. And you can't really overconsume these foods because they're low calorie. They're naturally low in calories. So when you talk about being vegan is a lifestyle, but we talk more about whole food, plant-based, right? Because being vegan, again, is not just food, but they won't even wear, leather. It's animal rights, really. But when we talk about health, we talk about whole food, plant-based. What does that mean? We're talking about eating food, plant food, of course, in its natural form, unprocessed or minimally processed, right? We're talking about whole grains like oats and whole wheat and whole corn and millet, teff, all these grains that, you go at the store and you look, you're like, what is this? You haven't even tried them. So these kind of grains, barley, amaranth, these kind of grains. And then legumes, right? Beans, lentils, peas. You go to the store and you look at all the different colored, beans. You can enjoy all that. And then nuts and seeds. I put in moderation there. The reason being, we don't get the nuts like in their pods and crack it and eat it. You get it salted and roasted in a container, and you sit there and just keep snacking, right? And before you know it, you've consumed half of the container, right? So you don't want to do that, because yes, they're healthy, but they can be easily overconsumed the way that we get them packaged and salted and roasted. So you gotta be careful with that. But then vegetables, starting with the green leafy vegetables, they're highly nutritious. The spinach, Swiss chard, collard greens, and then all kinds of vegetables, plus the starchy vegetables that people are afraid of, potatoes, sweet potatoes, yuca, all these kinds of, vegetables, and then your fruits, all kind of fruits, right? Again, when we talking about sugar and everybody going crazy about sugar, carbohydrates rather, talking about carbohydrates making people gain weight, and then people are avoiding healthy carbohydrates and saying, well, you also know that fruit is sugar. That is healthy sugar. That is natural, healthy sugar that comes with a lot of healthy compounds that we need to consume. So what is it about plant foods that makes it so powerful? Every plant food that you eat has 9 nutrients. Group of nutrients. Complex carbohydrates. In fact, one time I was telling somebody that beans were 55 to 65% carbohydrates. They were like, well, I thought it was protein. Remember, your body needs carbohydrates the most, like the big amount of it needs to be carbohydrates. So your beans are mostly carbohydrates, about 20% protein, about 10% or less, depending on what kind fats, right? So you also need healthy fat. So our food is mostly carbohydrates, so complex carbohydrates, then protein, healthy fats, minerals, vitamins, fiber, antioxidants, phytochemicals, water, right? This is what you get in plants. And I want to focus a little bit on this slide. This is what makes plants so powerful. You see this? The fiber, antioxidants, phytochemicals. They're found in plants. Fiber, of course, does a lot of things, help you feel full, feeds your microbiome, and your microbiome then produces all these healthy compounds called short-chain fatty acids, vitamins. It does a lot of things that affect your insulin sensitivity, your mental health, so many things that fiber does. Of course, keeping you regular, having regular bowel movements, amazing things about fiber. Animal food has zero fiber, zero. Processed foods will have minimal, and most of the time, no fiber, right? So really, your whole plants is where you're gonna get the fiber from, right? Antioxidants and phytochemicals, these are specific for plants and what gives plants their color, right? The blue color, the green color, the orange, the yellow. These compounds protect the plants outside where they're growing from pests, from whatever conditions they're growing in. Guess what? When you eat these plants, those same compounds protect your cells, your DNA from damage, from free radical damage, right? This is why you have to fill your plate with these plants because they're going to protect your body from degeneration, right? And also depending on how you cook it, because some of these compounds can be destroyed by cooking. That's why it's important to eat raw and cooked as well, right? To maximize your nutrition. So compare, again, we talked about this. Compare these with now animal food, which just gives you a lot of protein. There's a big problem when you consume a lot of protein. In fact, on average, we are consuming about 2-3 times the amount of protein, and you can easily do that when you're eating animals. You can consume 2 to 3 times the amount of protein you need. Your body does not store protein. Whenever you eat excess protein and get all these amino acids, your body will use what it needs. It will have to get rid of the rest or turn it into storage, store it as fat. And people have gotten kidney disease or worsened their kidney function because of these amino acids they have to get rid of. And animal protein has amino acids that are acidic, right? They are sulfur-containing amino acids, more of it. So it really causes injury to the kidneys. So this is what you're going to get: a lot of saturated fats, a lot of cholesterol, heme iron, all this stuff and lacking. Can you imagine eating food that comes with all these harmful compounds and then lacking phytonutrients and antioxidants? Basically just putting your body at risk, right? When you're eating this food, you don't have the protection and you're getting all these harmful compounds. So what about portioning, right? The world is so crazy about portions right now. Oh, I see, I post my food on social media and I hear comments, a lot of comments. Oh, I like your portions and all this. And I'm like, people have become crazy about portioning food because you only portion food when you're eating the wrong food, right? If you're eating the wrong food, then yeah, portion. Eat a small size of meat. But if you're eating the right food, eat a whole cup of beans, eat a whole cup of blueberries, eat a whole cup of vegetables. Like, there's no need to do that once you're eating the right food. Of course, don't eat one kind of food. Like, have a variety. A study came out that showed that you need about 30 different foods in a week to diversify your microbiome, because remember, the gut microbiome that we have is very important to us. It helps us stay healthy. So to really diversify your microbiome, you need to feed it with the fiber, different kinds of foods, so you diversify it, right? So 30 different kinds of foods, but that also includes spices and herbs, right? If you like, cook your food in spices, that counts as well. So don't worry about portioning. Like I said, if you concentrate on eating whole grains, legumes, nuts and seeds, vegetables and fruit, just make sure that in a day you're having these foods, and then you don't have to worry about portioning, people carb counting and all this stuff. Again, we don't understand, people don't understand where the problem is coming from. Like I said, you burn carbohydrates for energy because every cell in your body needs energy. And you can imagine now you're sitting there, you're not walking around, but your brain is going. There's so many processes running in your body you're not aware of. Each one of those needs glucose, right? So you need more of it. And people now going into these diets with low carbohydrates and stuff, you're putting the wrong fuel in your body. Your body does not want to use fat. It does not want to use protein as energy. It only uses those when you don't have glucose. And your body will run efficiently when you give it the right energy, right? So doing that, will really help your body to stay healthy, give it the right nutrients you need. Like I showed you in the slide before, all the minerals or the vitamins you're getting, you basically get everything you need, all the protein you need from plants. Each one of them, each one of your plant foods has all the amino acids. So you hear about essential amino acids and non-essential amino acids. So essential, you need them from diet, right? Every plant food has all the essential amino acids, but in varying proportions, And that is what makes it good for us. Because when you eat all this meat, which is like more available, right? You absorb a lot of those amino acids. It stimulates a lot of chemicals in the body, insulin-like growth factor, and all these things that promote a lot of growth and growth of the wrong cells, even cancer cells, right? But when you eat plant protein, because of the varying proportions of these amino acids, it actually levels things off. It levels your hormones, it levels chemicals in the body, and doesn't promote all these excessive growth in the body. So can you overconsume calories when you're eating whole food plant-based? It will be really, really difficult. In fact, I work with patients that have diabetes that are wanting to lose weight and stuff, and they're scared. They don't want to eat. They don't want to eat enough fruit. They're not eating enough oats or whole grains and stuff because they're scared that their sugar is going to go up. Isn't this going to make me gain weight and all these things? But no. What makes people gain weight is fat. It's really not carbohydrates because your body is burning the carbohydrates for energy. Of course, if you start consuming high fructose corn syrup on these other crazy stuff, but if you're eating natural foods, natural sugars, it's not going to make you gain weight. The body is programmed to store fat because it's a survival mechanism, right? If you be starving in the future without food, you can access those fats for energy while waiting to get to food. But who is starving? Honestly, like especially here, nobody's starving. We are constantly eating. So every little fat that the body is storing is just sitting there. And it's not just sitting there. It's causing inflammation, producing all this inflammatory stuff. So it's really affecting our health. So long as you put, and you can see the plate divided into fruits, vegetables, grains and beans, didn't include nuts there, but of course nuts and seeds there. If you do this, and then be careful with the oils. I personally don't cook with oil. About 2 years ago, I was reading more about oils, so I don't use oils because oil, every teaspoon, 1 tablespoon rather, of oil is 120 calories. 1 tablespoon. So you can see that you can really add into your calories when using oils. Plus, it's empty calories. It's not a natural, whole food, and it's inflammatory because of the omega-6, content that the oil have. They have more omega-6, so they can cause inflammation. So if you do that and you don't add all these oils, like you can have a nice salad and then you put on salad dressing that is heavy with all these oils and stuff, you can then turn your food into unhealthy. Now this you can see the calorie density. See, I'm running out of time. But if you look at the calorie density, you see how it's very easy to overeat if you're eating processed food, highly processed food, compared to just your vegetables and fruit and beans, because the density, the caloric density of those foods and the fiber, how that's 600 calories, right? Filling up your stomach if you're eating vegetables and fruit, 600 calories. But if you're eating meat, you're probably gonna need twice as much calories. If it's oil, it's like nothing. You can consume 4,000 calories easy, right? Do you have to mix your foods to get essential amino acids? No, you don't. In the course of the day, as you're eating the foods and your body is smart, it can do the mixing itself and you get all you need. So all you have to do is eat enough. Listen to your hunger cues. You don't have to portion and count and do all this, right? Do not overeat though, because overeating, of course, it's not good for you. So just to be satisfied and you get all that you need. Listen to your body. And this one, probably not important. Some people talk about you mix your vegetables and fruit. I do. I don't have a problem. If you have a problem, then something to think about, but there's no really need to do that. How many meals do you eat in a day? So I say 2 to 3 meals. Sometimes I eat 2 meals a day because maybe I woke up late, whatever, I started breakfast late. You don't have to eat when it's time to eat. Like, oh, it's 12 o'clock, it's time to eat. No, listen to your body and go eat when you need to eat. Of course, kids can snack because they're more active and they don't consume enough. They're small. So I'm talking about adults, 2 to 3 meals a day. And make your evening meal light, right? Because you're going to sleep, you want to get rest, you're going to get enough rest. Go to sleep earlier. Tell people, don't stay up late because then you're going to start snacking at night because now you're hungry. The trick is eat enough. Look at this plate, right? You have all the food, different groups of foods. Just make sure that you're eating enough. And don't eat too late, right? I think that's the end of it. But I put my references at the back. But enjoy the food. Like I said, putting a little poison in your body is not what you want to do. There's plenty of food to eat. You get all you need. The vitamin B12, I know I'm coming at the end of this now. Vitamin B12. All right, Prince said I need to end here.
Yes. As you can see, the doctors are very excited about the information they want to share with you. Are you guys getting lots of good information? All right, good. Now, on the